Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are. Welcome to the SAFe Summit 2020 Special Customer Interview Series. I couldn't be more excited, and I admit to being a little intimidated about interviewing our next guest. In this session, I'll be interviewing Rob Carter, EVP, Information Services, and CIO of FedEx. I think it's fair to say that Rob is a bit of a rock star in CIO circles. Someone once told me that he is considered to be the Beyonce of CIOs, but we like to think of him as the Harrison Ford of CIOs. FedEx has been on our journey with SAFe since about 2013 or so, really when we started. And I think it's safe to say that we have grown together along the way. FedEx, as a customer, and Rob in particular, have always challenged us to do more and do better, and we appreciate that immensely. Today's focus will be on how SAFe and business agility has helped FedEx succeed over the past few months as the company has weathered the impacts and opportunities provided with COVID. So let's get started with the interview. Rob, please introduce yourself and tell us a little bit about your role and history with FedEx.
Well, Dean, thanks a lot for having me. It's a real treat to be here. I'm Rob Carter. I'm the CIO of FedEx Corporation, and in the FedEx world, technology plays a huge role in keeping our operations running 7/24, 365 and around the globe. We serve about 220 countries and about 98% of the world's GDP with fast cycle logistics that frankly has become more important in the world that we find ourselves in than ever before. I have a wonderful team that supports the work that we do that really represents the central nervous system for FedEx. The technology really is essential in order for the airplanes to fly, the trucks to roll, the packages to ship, and for our customers to have the visibility that they need and demand in today's world, and all of the incredible needs that are being met throughout the pandemic.
Tell us a little bit about the platforms that you build on and the types of applications and services that you provide.
Yeah, it's a pretty incredible array of applications and services, more and more these days services than just deep vertical applications. But we've been building and modernizing the estate at FedEx for a long time in order to serve the varieties of business needs that we have out there. We have our Global Express company that operates the world's largest all-air cargo airline, but we also have the ground and freight and FedEx Office and FedEx Logistics companies that all have unique needs. And so it really represents a complex set of interactions between applications and businesses, which is really critical to the SAFe, Agile journey, as well as the business agility work that we've been doing.
So I think everybody knows FedEx, but I wonder if you could give us a bit of a scope. How big a company are you? How many employees do you have around the world?
Yeah, we're north of $70 billion in revenue these days. We have 500,000 employees and team members around the world that represent the work that we do. These days, it's pretty complex because many of our team members are out there operating in the world that really has a lot of challenges. But we also have a huge number of team members that are working from home and are safe at home, representing a lot of the work that we do in our call centers and our technology and marketing and finance and sales teams, all working really from home. So a complex set of team members out there, many of whom are really frontline heroes that we're super proud of, that are bringing, I'm sure, this audience important things every day, as well as serving the world's needs for PPE and critical supplies. We've delivered more than 42 kilotons of PPE around the world. More than 2 billion masks have been delivered through our networks. So whether it's dog food from Chewy or the very high end of medical supplies, we're out there working at scale to get it done.
Yeah, I can envision the role you played in distributing that PPE, and we're going to return to that in a second. But let's get started with a little discussion of how you got started with SAFe and when and why.
Well, we certainly felt a need, like I think all IT and businesses do these days, that the responsiveness and the ability to keep up with changing marketplaces, particularly in the face of disruptive competitors, needed a different style of process to deliver advances in the business. And so we started with you at around 2013 with just a couple of arts and a couple of focused areas, learning the business of SAFe and Agile. And then today we're actually operating more than 300 arts around the enterprise. So we've scaled with Scale Agile through these last 7 and 8 years now to really become what we feel like is strong practitioners of this practice that you've created. And along with that, really are delivering value for the business in a new way.
Clearly, we've evolved the framework. You've been actually instrumental in that. I've worked with probably dozens of your team members over the years. I have a question. Are we driving you crazy with releasing new versions of SAFe all the time?
Well, obviously, this is a world that has changed, not just because of pandemics, but because of the rapid pace of business these days. And we feel like we've got to be adaptable to new versions, new ways of working through the process. So the direct answer to your question is no. Is it sometimes challenging to keep up with releases of anything? Yes, but we appreciate the focus that you and the team have put on improving the framework continuously, because that's the way we think about everything we do.
Well, it's probably been 2 or 3 years back that we started different discussions, started talking about business agility well prior to SAFe version 5, when we introduced, extensions beyond just the tech shop. You were a big part of that. You were talking about business agility, honestly, before I was. What is business agility at FedEx?
Well, I think for this audience, it's really important to recognize that SAFe and Agile for us are a thing. It's not a random set of processes, very specific set of techniques, and I think everybody gets that. But when you move up to the funnel of how work is drawn into the arts and drawn in a pull fashion through the processes where demand is managed, that's when you start to talk about business agility. Business agility is also a thing for us. It's a very specific set of processes, roles, organizational change management, and architectures that allow us to manage work directly with the business. Business agility, as its name connotates, is frankly even less of an IT thing than SAFe and Agile are. The need that we have to partner directly with our businesses around the world in the business agility framework has really driven some value for alignment between IT and the business, which is, to me, after doing this work for a long time, the single most critical thing that needs to be achieved.
Rob, clearly business agility extends beyond the agile development shops and the IT domain. What other business areas have you expanded into with SAFe or your own practices around business agility?
Well, I think when you look at the way our business is structured, Dean, we have separate operating companies for FedEx Ground, FedEx Freight, FedEx Office, and the Global Express business. And so those represent portfolios that we have to manage. So we've organized with our business partners in each of those domains to really have a better way of looking at the portfolios. But maybe most importantly, and in addition to that, we've also organized an enterprise business agility office that sits over the top of that. Now, frankly, it's a thin layer of management across those independent portfolios. But like in any business, the portfolios aren't entirely independent. They have to be managed together in a way. So the enterprise business agility office establishes the interconnects between corporate initiatives that may drive more than one portfolio to accomplish a set of tasks to achieve the execution that we need, or it may pick up on the fact that there are things going on in one portfolio that need to involve other portfolios. So it's a hierarchy. It has business agility offices that are staffed and effectively managing the Kanbans and critical portfolio inputs across each of those businesses and across the enterprise.
Have you seen SAFe and Agile reaching into marketing or HR or legal or sales or any of the other domains?
Yeah, more the business agility framework is working its way out. The legal teams, for example, I mean, there's so many things that come out the legal teams. They use the Kanban structures that we established in business agility to drive their priorities. HR has been doing some of that same work. Marketing certainly has a rich environment of business agility in looking at the marketplaces that we serve and how they can organize work to really make sure we're working on the highest priority things. That's, at the end of the day, what it really is all about. Ruthless prioritization inside the portfolios and across the portfolios to deliver value for the business. That's why we're here. And that's, I think, what we're achieving.
You've touched on portfolio management, which has always been a personal area of interest for me. Obviously, you've implemented some degree of lean portfolio management at FedEx.
Yeah, the business agility process, when I mentioned that business agility is really a very specific set of processes, architectures, roles that people play in organizational change management, it leans heavily into lean portfolio management. The thing that is business agility for us is lean by nature. It drives really critical lanes of work. It really removes some of the problems we had with context switching, which is the ability to adapt quickly to different changes, to not be working on the wrong things just because they were in the pipeline. So I think we're leaner than ever by the definition of lean with regard to how these processes and how the smart people working in the roles to manage our business agility and SAFe frameworks are doing a really good job for us.
I think everybody would agree that we want business agility, but how do you know it when you see it? Do you measure it? Do you have outcome-based measures that help you understand that a group or a division is or isn't achieving real business agility?
Well, one of the things that the pandemic has really, presented to us is a set of rapid changes in marketplaces and needs. And frankly, you can't fake it in the face of something like what we've all been through in this crazy world. And so one of the big hallmarks is how well we've been able to respond to being slingshot into the future. We've really been slingshot into 2023 from every expectation we had about what e-commerce would look like, how our networks would be operating. And so the agility with which we've been able to do the work necessary to jump into the future is probably the best testimony we have with regard to adaptability and the effectiveness of business agility and SAFe.
So what did the pandemic do to your business? Does it drive packages? Does it drive more innovative systems, different interfaces to the end user? What are the impacts?
Yeah, it's been super interesting. I mean, like everyone at first, it was a massive unknown. And in fact, it was a significant negative for our business as it started. But then as the world began to adjust and, as business had closed, people were doing work from home. And so we had to adapt very quickly to a huge shift of our business from business to business frameworks and technology and applications that were suited there to much more business to residential kinds of densities in our networks and the routes that we had to follow. So the technology for routing, for managing traffic had to be very different. In addition, as the passenger airlines stopped flying so many routes, much of the critical cargo that was flying in the underbellies of those passenger airlines was being routed into our networks. And so it didn't happen right away, but over the first month or two, we saw a significant shift in how freight was being positioned around the world to meet really critical needs. And so the visibility tools that our consumers wanted to have were really amazing. So we've seen massive growth in our mobile technology framework, FedEx Delivery Manager and FedEx Mobile, which are really highly rated apps in both Google Play and the App Store. The uptake on those has broken every imaginable record. The numbers of visibility requests, tracking requests that we get from our customers have blown through every record that we ever established in the past, and it isn't even peak season yet. So the systems had to adapt to new volumes, they had to adapt to new routes, new workloads, and it's really been a challenging time, especially since our technology teams were really working from home all over the world. So it was a new day for us, and the systems, I believe, have risen to the occasion to meet the needs of our operations and our customers.
I'm envisioning backlogs lighting up all over the enterprise with new initiatives. Was there a central and decentral view of what had to change, or how did you coordinate the response?
Yeah, that's a terrific question, Dean. The portfolios that are uniquely and independently managed by the operating companies and by specific business units were having to respond to specific needs. But at the same time, we had to create this thinner layer of enterprise business agility that allowed us to connect key initiatives across those portfolios, as well as drive corporate strategic initiatives into those portfolios in ways that didn't take away a lot of the critical needs that they had on an autonomous basis, but really allowed us to blend the two things together. What are the corporate strategic needs that we need across portfolios, and how can those portfolios be unfettered in ways that allow them to solve the needs of each business?
Takes just the right combination of centralized and decentralized decision making.
Yeah, we call it a federated model, and a lot of people do. I mean, there's a states' rights kind of, component to that, and there's also a federal layer that goes over the top of that, and getting the balance of that, as we all can see in the political worlds today, is critical and important, and we're constantly working to get that right.
I'm imagining people thinking about leadership and thinking, wow, there's a lean agile leader at work. Do you have advice for other leaders? What role does leadership play in a lean agile transformation?
Well, thank you for saying that. I'm humbled by that. And one of the things that was so important to me, I've been doing this work for a long time. I've been the CIO at FedEx for 20 years now. And the most important thing to me, the thing that I've recognized over those years, is that nothing matters more than working hard to get aligned with the business. And when you're aligned with the business, the job becomes much easier because you get to get out of the way and watch great things happen. Conversely, and all too often true, when IT and the business are at odds and don't have clean and consistent views of the work at hand, it's an insult to glaciers to say that things move at glacial speed. So the alignment that these tools provide, the visibility and transparency of portfolio management, the working together, not just to deliver the value, but to plan and pull the value through from critical priorities is so important to focus on. Too often, I think we get pulled down into the weeds of, one technology versus another, or, operating the technology, all important. But from a leadership standpoint, I think alignment with the business is the single most critical thing.
Alignment does make things easier. Tell me a little bit about matching demand to capacity in the midst of all that change. How did you know that the new initiatives actually could be implemented with the capacity that you had?
Well, it's a wonderful thing about how SAFe and Agile work, is that as we define the Agile release trains, or ARTs, which we now have more than 300 of, it creates a pull capability that allows you to very specifically see the capacity that's able to be applied to the problem set that's at hand. One of the things that I think we do too much of is kind of, worrying about the priority list that's at hand today. And frankly, I promise you that priority list will be different next year and the year after that. So the framework with which you manage that priority list is actually more important than the list itself. So what we were able to do through these tools and technologies was have clear line of sight to the work and the demand that's coming forward, but our business partners also had clear line of sight to the amount of capacity that was able to be applied in the domains and across the portfolios. What that allows them to do is then prioritize the work, obviously in smaller increments than what we had been doing back in the waterfall days, but prioritize the work so that it can slot through the Kanbans from the planning process to the build process and to the execution and deployment processes in an organized way. When you can see the capacity and you believe that you're getting value out of the capacity that you funded as a business, then it's pretty easy to prioritize to fill that capacity in an organized way.
So I'm going to put you on the spot here. What one tip would you provide to others who are embarking on a lean agile journey of such enormous scale?
Well, the single most important thing that we did at FedEx, Dean, was because we have a bit of a complex business with various business units I've been describing in the big world that we serve, I partnered with our president and COO, Raj Subramaniam. Raj is a wonderful business partner and business thinker. And I said, Raj, if we want to get this right, we've got to bring our leaders together, the OpCo CEOs and the OpCo CIOs, in a way that allows them to see these challenges the same way. So we brought together that group in a partnered fashion where Raj and I led a training session that lasted 3 days with those very important people. We'd never done anything like that. And from that, we launched global business agility and the alignment that was necessary. Now that's a big ask. I understand that, and a lot of folks just may not have the luxury of being able to get a group like that together. But the simpler way to say it is get alignment at the top of the business, at the top of the corporation, so that you can see what these processes can do together. Get trained, and when I say trained, I mean actually trained, put people through a training course and a workshop that allows them to speak the same language and manage in the same way. Big ask, but it is the one thing that I would do, and it's the one thing that we did do that feels most effective.
That's fantastic. So Rob, thanks for sharing your journey. Any final tips to us, things we should be doing differently, new ideas for the framework? What's on top of mind for next evolution of Lean Agile at scale?
Well, I believe you guys have really changed the way that software is developed. I think that as we integrate these kinds of deliveries into CI/CD pipelines and the next generation of continuous delivery, the framework and tooling around CI/CD is something that's really important for SAFe and Agile to work with in a lean fashion that allows the continuous movement, testing, all of the things that are represented in pipeline deliveries. I think are the frontier for us right now, and the way that we'll be able to deliver even more value into the future.
So Agile isn't just about the daily stand-up, it's about the technical practices as well?
Yeah, it actually is, and building modern systems and modern capabilities is one thing, but how you build them and deliver them probably is more important than just having modern technologies at play.
We can imagine how critical your time is, and I couldn't be more appreciative of your time here today or the time that you spent with us helping build a better system. So thanks so much for investing this time, and I'm sure we'll be on a conference call again at some point soon.
Well, Dean, it's great to see you, and I hope the audience found it useful, and we're just happy to be along on the ride with you. So thanks for all you've done to help us be better as a company.
I'm sure of that. Thanks again, Rob, and I'll see you later.
Take care. Bye. Thank you.